This is Showtime, a podcast about the people behind the curtain and the stories that shape them. I'm Andrew G, and each week I sit down with creators, leaders and risk takers from the theatre world and beyond. We talk about what they do, why they do it and what it really takes to keep showing up. Today I'm joined by Emily McDougall, a bright talent originally from Hobart and has a love for musical theatre that runs deep. A graduate of Federation Uni, Emily has taken on roles from Shakespeare to new Australian musicals and is now bringing her passion and spark to the stage in Legally Blonde. Welcome to Showtime, Emily McDougall.
Hi, Andrew. So great to be here.
It's so great to have you here. What's your first memory performing on stage?
My first memory, my first musical I ever did, I was 10 and I performed as the baby elephant bird in Seussical, the musical. So it was my first ever school musical. And I remember just being so excited. Like, I'd moved to a new school and I was immediately like, there's going to be a musical. I'm going to be in it. So I grew up just loving like the Sound of Music, Annie, like all of the like classic musicals. And as soon as I knew there was going to be a musical on that year at my new school, I was like, I'm going to be in it. It's going to happen.
So what was it like being a 10-year-old kid and being in a musical? Was that like all your dreams coming to life, or was it the first time you sort of really gently started to get into it?
I think I knew that it was something that I was really interested in because I had grown up around all of these like movie musicals and things like that. But yeah, being able to be on stage was the first time that I was like, oh, this is where I feel like I'm like supposed to be. And it all just felt so like big and expansive. And like, it was the first time I'd ever worked on something that just felt like such a big, like I felt like a small part of a really big thing. And yeah, getting to be in like an ensemble but having like a little featured part was, I think, what sort of gave me the theatre bug a bit. And I remember really close to the end of the process, my director was like, hey, so we were thinking, should we like replace the elephant bird with like a stuffed animal? Would you be offended? And I was straight up like, yeah. Like, I would like to say my tweet, please. Like, it was my one line. I was very protective of it. And I'm so happy that that like I still got to like go on and do that because, you know, it sort of just, gave me the passion of like, oh, I get to be a part of this big thing.
Growing up in Hobart, what was the art scene like for you?
So I did a lot of my musicals through my school, and I did one or two other musicals outside of school, but I feel like a lot of people were sort of pushing me in the direction of, if this is something you want to do professionally, if you want to take this to like a career level, the mainland is sort of where you want to go. Because like there are so many pathways in Hobart to do theatre as like a part of a community, and everyone is a really tight-knit theatre community. But I feel like a lot of the people in Hobart work really closely with a lot of people in Melbourne and Sydney and sort of, work with the professional theatre industry that way. And so I feel like it was, sort of just a natural progression of like, you feel really entrenched in the theatre community in Hobart, and then that sort of graduates to the mainland if that's something you want to do professionally.
So did you always know you wanted to pursue a career in musical theatre?
Almost instantly. I don't think it was until I was about 14 or 15 that I realised that was something you could do, because I'd only really ever been exposed to like school musicals, and like I understood that that was like something that you did while you were at school. But then I think it was my singing teacher when I was about, 14 or 15 that was like, hey, there's like courses you can go and do if you want to do this professionally. But then there's like steps that you have to take to like feel like as ready as you possibly can to be able to enter this industry. And so for me, that was like getting my dance skills up, like making sure I knew how to audition, how to like present myself to a panel. And I feel like there's like, you go and do like singing Eisteddfods and dance Eisteddfods in Hobart, and that sort of really puts you in a good place of, you know, how to appear in front of a panel and how to work on like your presentation and things. And like very fortunately, there are a lot of creatives that come to Hobart and they host like audition workshops and things like that. So it really helps give all these young artists a pathway if that is something they want to pursue. And I was very lucky that I was able to go and do a couple of these audition workshops to feel like I was in the best possible place to, put myself out there a little bit.
Who were your biggest performance influences when you were a kid?
Like I said, I grew up watching like The Sound of Music and Annie. And so I loved like Julie Andrews, Anne Ranking, like all of the like golden age musical theatre stars. And I remember watching Annie as a kid and just seeing all of the dance sequences and being like, oh my goodness, like this is just heaven on a screen. Yeah, watching them made me go, oh, I want to do something like that. And I think that's sort of, made me sort of follow, especially Anne Ranking, like all the way through to like her work with Fosse and things like that. And that sort of made me want to go and watch classic musicals like Chicago. And yeah, it helped me fall in love with like all of musical theatre, but specifically like dance-based shows. Like I love them. I can't get enough of them.
And you also write. So tell me a bit about your experience co-writing a musical while you were at uni.
Yeah, so a big part of the third year program at Fed Uni for my year, so we were the first year of like a completely new degree. So in the past they'd had 2 separate degrees, a musical theatre degree and an acting degree. And we were the first year that they decided to combine them to sort of give a more immersive experience and a better representation of what it looks like to be a performer in the industry today. Because I feel like as an artist, you have to sort of be really versatile. And I think that the idea is that they're going to give us as many avenues as possible to try and explore creativity. And so the first half of our third year was dedicated, our performance project was dedicated to, like devising as a group. And so with a group of 4 or 5 other people, we composed our own musical called Last Ones Left. And we were given a stimulus, which was the Decameron. And it sort of translated into a lot of people writing about their experiences during the pandemic and things like that. And so we decided to flip it on its head a little bit and think about, well, the Decameron is about a bunch of people going and hiding in the forest to escape society. So we thought about, hey, what if everyone else escaped and we were the last ones left in this certain place? Why did we stay? Why did we decide to, not go with the rest of society? Writing this musical based around like the 5 stages of grief and how you're sort of like mourning the loss of what once was. And I was very fortunate to work quite closely with Luke DeSoma on how to like compose a piece of music. And it really gave me a really good appreciation for the creative process. And like there are so many wonderful like self-devised theatre projects that are happening specifically in Melbourne at the moment. And it's just given me such an appreciation for the creative process and like how much of yourself you have to put into your work. And just how creatives are like constantly doing that. And like I found the process to be very, inspiring and enlightening, but also because you're putting so much of yourself in your work, you're like, oh, I have to like really dig deep for all of these emotions. So I feel like it was, a bit of a wake up as like, oh, all these artists that are putting themselves into their work have to like relive these emotions every time they perform their songs. And it's, given me such a newfound respect for all these artists that write autobiographically or whether they write from a different point of view, but there's always going to be a bit of yourself in every single thing that you put together.
Is writing something you want to pursue further?
I think that writing is definitely something that I have considered, but I haven't really delved into a lot. I feel like more of my passion lies in sort of like commercial musical theatre and bringing those sorts of stories to life. And like I do write in my free time, but it's not something I've dedicated a whole lot of time to just because, like life is crazy, everything is happening and like there's like obviously a lot of inspiration going around, but I think there are just so many people already doing these things so brilliantly and I'm just wanting to be a part of celebrating what they're creating.
Being a performer can be really challenging and sometimes very competitive. And you were saying before that you had your first almost rejection as a 10-year-old, being asked to be substituted for a stuffed toy. Of course, that was probably the first of many challenging conversations you've had as a performer. How do you keep a sense of optimism and joy in such a demanding industry?
Well, the industry is always changing. Like you're never going to walk into an audition room and have the exact same experience that you had the last time you were in an audition room, even if the panel is the exact same, even if it's the same venue, even if you've auditioned for the same show multiple times. The biggest thing for me that has helped me keep such a sense of optimism is just that the right thing will find you when it is time. Like, all you can do in the industry is always try and put your best work out there and just keep just being around the industry. So for me, that has involved like going to so many dance classes. Like, I found so much joy in being in and around a studio full of people that just want to be there and dance and move and create, and like taking workshops, group singing classes, just keeping on interacting with the community. And that way I've found so many connections and I've made so many friends through all of these things that I've just pushed myself to go and do. Because when I moved from Ballarat after finishing uni to Melbourne, I obviously knew the people I went to uni with, but then it was kind of like the industry was this big unknown thing that I hadn't really like been around because I hadn't studied around it. And so I was like, right, well, I'm going to go this week and I'm going to go to 2 dance classes at studios I've never been to before and just push myself to get out there. And already like I was meeting people, meeting teachers, meeting people that I would later like be auditioning next to. And it just helps for me going into an audition room and having like all these people there that I know from all these different places just makes it so much less of a daunting experience and more just like, oh, I'm here. Like if it's a dance audition, I'm just taking a dance class with a bunch of my friends. So I think that finding the little spots of joy in just getting to audition that day, like, oh, I get to be in a room and I get to dance today. I get to be in a room and I get to sing today. I think that's what's helped me keep such a clear head about it all.
You've mentioned before that you've loved Legally Blonde for over a decade. What is it that first got you to fall in love with that show?
Yeah, I've loved Legally Blonde for like the longest time. It was one of the first musicals that I sort of found like by myself. Like no one really introduced me to it. I kind of found the pro shot on YouTube after one of my friends had like mentioned it on like an offhand comment. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to sit down and watch this. And I think I had seen the movie maybe once before, or I had seen parts of the movie. So I sort of knew what it was about. But then I was like, no, I'm going to like sit down and watch this. And I sat there and I watched the whole thing in its entirety. And I went, this is so fun. It's a musical that has such fun songs, fun characters. And like, it's about the color pink. Like, who doesn't love that?
Has your relationship with the show changed since you've been in the cast?
I think it's given me a deeper appreciation for how much work it takes to bring such a show together and make it like the snappy thing that it is, because like I feel like so much of the show thrives on keeping the energy up, and like even in the moments where like it slows down a little bit, like you have to keep on driving through it. And it's really shown me what like a test of endurance it is, specifically for my track in the show. I don't really go off stage. And I think that's something that I've had to, catch on pretty quickly too. But it hasn't made me love it any less. Like I still walk into rehearsals every day and I'm still like so excited to be here, and like I get to sing songs from my favorite musical and I get to do dance numbers from my favorite musical and I get to be around all these amazing people. Like I think it has deepened my love for the show because you get to see all the little intricacies of like the script and the score and everything, and you get to like have all these inside jokes with cast members and things. So I think I feel like I've been steeping myself in the musical for this entire rehearsal period, and it's just made me love it more.
Knowing how much Legally Blonde means to you, how did you prepare for it?
Well, I want to say that like I've been preparing for it for a decade, but I think that the preparation process was less about like preparing the material and more about like preparing for the experience of it, because I knew that going into the audition, I was going to be so nervous because it like obviously like when you have like a dream show on the horizon, it's like the audition process is going to hold so much more weight than like a show that maybe you didn't think about auditioning for and you just went in at the last second. But I feel like I had thought about this for so long, and so I had to, I built it up in my head so much that I was just like, right, I need to just bring it back to me and the material and what I can bring to the room. Practice calming myself down and just making sure that I am going in and giving the best performance possible and not bringing any of the like outside noise of like, oh, what's the panel thinking? Am I going to be good enough for this? What happens if I can't sing this? What am I going to do? Blah, 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 blah. Like, I think it was just more about, bringing it back to what have I been asked to prepare? What can I bring to the room? And how am I going to interpret the material that they've given me? And just leaving it at that and bringing the best performance I can with that.
What was the first day of rehearsal like for you?
The first day of rehearsal was crazy. I remember, just walking into the room and just seeing everyone and going, oh, I'm going to get to do a show with all of these people. And like we had the dogs here, like the dogs came to visit. And I think seeing them made it feel really real. I'm like, oh, this is happening. Like this is this big production that has so many moving parts, but like everybody is just as excited to be here as I am. And I feel like that was a day where I like made so many new friends and I was like, oh, this is going to be just the most fun ever.
Is there a moment in the show that gets you emotional every single time?
There is a point in Act 2 during the song Legally Blonde where I really start to like feel my emotions and I'm like, ooh, yeah, this is where I feel like the audience is also going to start to feel the emotions. Act 2 is sort of where the musical takes on less of a like pink poppy high energy and sort of goes a bit more into like the roots of the characters and why they're doing what they do and how what they've done in the past is affecting them now. And so I think, the song Legally Blonde is where I really feel my emotions because it is like, it's the 11 o'clock number of the show. It's where like everyone is, tuned into this big ballad. Like there's two characters on the stage. There's no like high energy dance number or anything. And I think that's a point in the show where I really get to slow down and think about, okay, like how am I feeling in this moment and check in with myself as well as my character is also having like a really big character development moment.
Has playing Elle Woods in Legally Blonde taught you anything unexpected about yourself?
I think that playing Elle Woods has definitely taught me that it's okay to be multifaceted. Like you don't ever have to be just one thing. So to everyone, like you look at Elle Woods and you see like, oh, she wears a lot of pink. She's so happy and bubbly and like she's a sorority girl and this is like what she is at face value. But she teaches herself over the course of the musical that like you can be intelligent and you can also wear pink and you can also wear sparkles. And like those two things don't have to be mutually exclusive. Like you can have that all. I think that that is something that I'm looking to embrace because I feel like a lot of my personality is like, oh, I'm doing musical theatre and musical theatre is like my life. But I feel like it's really encouraging me to, explore like who am I outside of this as well? Because like as much as I love musical theatre and I would love to do it for as long as I possibly can, like it's okay to have other interests. And I think that is something that I've been realizing lately, but being in this musical has sort of like fast-tracked that, like getting to have that realization as I go through the script. I'm like, oh, it's okay to take that into my real life as well.
Legally Blonde, the musical, expands on the film in some really big ways. What do you think Legally Blonde says that the movie doesn't?
I think the musical gives a bit of a deeper look into like the why of each character. So I feel like the movie does a really good job at like, it's a cult classic 2000s film. And I think the musical then takes all the best parts of this cult classic film. They give each character like a little more depth. Like we get a little bit more of Emmett's backstory. We get to know a little bit more about like Vivian and Warner and why Warner is doing what he's doing. And I think that that the musical does a really good job at taking these moments from the movie that might be glossed over because the movie is not a musical. And it takes all these moments and expands on them in the form of song. So I think the most prominent one for me is Chip on My Shoulder, which in the movie is like a montage of like Elle being like, right, I'm going to get serious about my study. But in the musical, it's like Emmett comes to Elle and says, hey, this is how I got to be where I am today. You can do this too. And then it still has that sort of montage feel about it, but she's accepting help from someone else and she's realizing so much more about herself in this process. And so I think the musical does a really good job at like honing in on those moments without losing the like pizzazz that makes the film what it is.
If Elle Woods walked into your life tomorrow, what would you say to her?
I think Elle Woods as a character is really representative of everything that I want to be as a person, and I hope that I am trying to be as a person. So she's always so kind to everyone around her, but she isn't afraid to show her intelligence where she needs to. So I think that she has, taught me a lot. And I would say to her, like, thank you for teaching me so much about what it means to be this multifaceted person and to like have so much kindness and so much awareness of everyone around you. But to also like not shy away from being intelligent and showing that and just, making that known.
What do you hope audiences take away from this production of Legally Blonde?
I would love audiences to come out of the theatre like having had the best night of their lives. I think that the messages that the musical delivers are really strong. And I think while it does have its serious moments and its moments of, really like introspective reflection, like at the end of the day, I want them to have come out of the theatre like feeling really good about the show they've seen and like wanting to go and explore, like if they haven't seen the movie, maybe go and watch the movie and just like delve into the franchise a little bit and like maybe see a little bit of themselves in each of these characters, because every character that steps on the stage is so different. Like even every ensemble character like is so different. And I want everybody in the audience to feel like they can find themselves in this musical, because every character is so larger than life, but also is representative of, everybody that is in society.
Emily McDougall is playing Elle Woods in Legally Blonde, that's running at the National Theatre until the 27th of July. To book tickets, visit booktickets.com.au. Emily, thank you so much for coming into the studio and looking forward to seeing you at the National.
Thank you so much for having me.